If you look at the markets, really no major change as far as the last half an hour is concerned. It's been stable. It's been around the 30-40 point decline, and that's precisely where it is, closer to the 7,500 mark. 7,500 was expected to be a stiff resistance, and that was because a lot of put writing has happened over there. So it's an interesting level. We take over that. We have the ECB meet today. So maybe it can give us sort of gap up opening tomorrow, and markets may be able to take out that. That's essentially the sense that you get. But it could be a binary event. ECB is a big event that we are watching out for, and it could just go anywhere. Nifty Junior down about 0.3, mid cap index down 0.25%, small cap index as flat as it could get for this name. Let's look at some of the mid cap names, what's really buzzing in, what's flying around. So if I look at some of the gainers on the mid cap side, Markson's Pharma is up 4%, it's closer to 50 rupees. Intellect Design Arena is up 5%, 203 for that name. Granules India is up 5%, closer to the 200-day DMA for Granules India. Phoenix Mills, second day in a row doing extremely well, was up about 6% yesterday. It's followed by about good 4% move coming in today. PVR is up 4.5%. I think it's got to do with the movie pipeline that's coming in. Generally, during the IPL season, movies did not come out well, but this time around, the pipeline that is coming in seems to be strong. So maybe there is a bump up, and maybe that's the thing that markets are trying to factor in. That movies would continue, would not be so seasonal as they have been since the start of IPL series. Godfrey Phillip is up about 5%, 1,200 odd rupees as far as Godfrey Phillip is concerned. No major volumes, but consider 3.5 lakh shares on NSE for Godfrey Phillip. It's a decent volume when you consider it, when we consider it in respect to the averages that it generally tends to show. Let's look at some of the losers as well on the mid cap side. Let's start with Prestige Estates. That's down about 4 odd %. Imami is down 3.5%. Jubilant Foodworks is down 3.5%. These are some names that have seen selling pressure, and they continue to see that. HDIL is down 3%. Jaiprakash Associates is closer to 7.5%. Stride Sashun is down 3%. BHEL 104. IDBI, Reliance Industries, BOI are some of the other losers as far as markets are concerned. Mayuresh Joshi is now joining us. Mayuresh, good afternoon. How big the ECB event will be? Okay, Mayuresh will. Okay, Mayuresh, I'll just come back. Okay, Mayuresh, we finally have you. I just wanted to know that what essentially would you expect from ECB? Can it be a binary event? Can it be an event which can disappoint the market and the risk-on rally that we are seeing in the last 10 days?
So clearly, Pankaj, I think we'll come to know all about that today evening. But clearly, I think if you work out with the scenarios that the markets are posing at this point of time, if it turns out the way it is expected and the large participants believe that another round of easing is probably on the cards, you might expect some amount of sentimental push through in terms of a rally happening through the risk assets, that is equity as a class. If it probably turns out to be status quo, you might see some disappointment come through. And the larger thing is how demand probably comes through generally for the euro reason, and generally how Chinese data points improve along with the US markets data points, whether that is housing starts, whether that is the labor market. So I think these points are extremely important apart from the TCB meet, where the expectations generally are that more easing is around the corner. If he probably disappoints, you might see some amount of money being taken off the table.
Right. What would you make of the levels that we are at, the a little bit FII buying that we are, not little bit, it's a lot of FII buying that we are seeing in the last 8-10 days. What do you make of that? You think FII buying is the key driver for our markets? Because DIIs tend to buy once the markets have fallen, once the price is in their favor, but FIIs tend to just buy when they want to buy or sell when they want to sell.
That's always been the case, Pankaj, but clearly I think with the kind of enthusiasm that we had seen in the last few months, specifically on the domestic mutual fund side, if the exuberance continues, I think the domestic mutual funds will be in a much better position to probably counter what the FIs do. Yes, I think FIs still have a dominant positioning in terms of equity ownership into the markets, and they still call the shots. But clearly, I think one needs to have a deeper perspective in terms of a structural re-rating for the markets. And that, again, I think, as we've been saying, like a broken record, will come through only when earnings improve and probably the capex cycle revives. So I think these two factors are very important hinging factors which the market is probably dependent upon from a medium to long term perspective. So in that sense itself, I think another couple of quarters is where the expectations are that earnings should start reviving and the capex cycle should resume a positive trend, specifically from the private side. And if that happens, and if it's supported by a good monsoon, the budget was again well balanced. If you see RBI cuts, which are again largely expected in the policy in April, we'll probably see some amount of transmission come through, consumption picking up, and if that probably happens, you're probably going to see corporate earnings improve generally, and in a holistic manner. I think input costs still expected to remain low. So clearly corporate earnings is the basic driver for the markets, and that should see some revival over the next couple of quarters. Till that point of time, I think we'll still be hostage probably to what the world markets are doing in terms of how crude moves, and as we mentioned earlier, what happens with ECB policy meets, what happens with Chinese data points, what comes out of the US markets as well.
Right, Mayuresh, just stay on with us. Hina is also now joining in. Hina, first, if you could tell us about Container Corporation of India. It is a hit sort of a divestment. The government has managed to raise 1150 crores.
Absolutely. I mean, 1165 to be precise is something that the government will be getting out of this 5% stake sale. The process started yesterday with all the institutional quota. It got oversubscribed by almost 2 times and 2.02 times to be precise. And today, this particular stake sale was open for the retail investors to bid. In total, in Container Corp of India, the government has offloaded about 5% of its stake, which is about 97.48 lakh shares. For the retail investors, we understand there was an additional discount of 5% as well. And now, just a couple of minutes ago, we've got this report that the retail portion has got oversubscribed. As you rightly mentioned, this is the 7th disinvestment, or rather 7th OFS that we have seen for this particular financial year. Earlier, there were also reports indicating that, this disinvestment activity is really going to gather a lot of steam, especially in the month of March. Remember, this is just, within this particular fortnight, we have seen second disinvestment really going through. So government is now pushing as far as their disinvestment target is concerned, though of course they won't really be able to meet that big target that they have for this financial year, but they're just trying to, get as much as possible with these little disinvestments that we have got. We are hearing from our sources, of course, is that a couple of more are expected in the remaining, remaining part of this particular financial year. So we may see a couple of more coming in by the end of 31st March and 2016. So far, government has already raised about 18,352 odd crore rupees in the first 6 disinvestments which have taken place. This is the 7th one, so it will add to a little over 19,000 odd crore rupees.
Right, Hina, does this 19,000 crore number include the Coal India dividend as well?
No, this is just the disinvestment that the government has done. It's got nothing to do with the dividend. That's a separate thing altogether.
Any other disinvestment? Right, any other disinvestment you're picking up till the end of this financial year, or probably we are done with it?
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we don't, of course, really know the names because that's market sensitive information, and that's something that now Department of Disinvestment is clearly tight-lipped about. But we are hearing from the sources in the ministry, of course, is that we may see a couple of more these small ticket disinvestments really coming through before 31st of March 2016.
Right. Hina, also something that you can pick up on Indigo, A320 Neo, which is likely to be a key event for the market. They had, when we spoke to them after their results, they had guided that somewhere in March and April they could get that. Anything that you can pick up on that? It is something which is a developing story.
Well, absolutely. And remember, it was more important because the day the news came that the delivery is expected to get delayed, that's when the stock was hit very badly. It fell sharply as well. Now, I have picked up a tweet that has come in from Indigo's official Twitter account, of course, saying that today it is a big day as they are receiving their first, it says, big moment. Indigo is accepting delivery of Asia's first eco-friendly Airbus A320 Neo today. So this is something, of course, course, that we've picked up from their account, and we will be getting more details, but this is of course confirmed. It's a verified account. Clearly this is going to be a big one, though the stock hasn't really reacted till now. Probably it's still trying to reach out to the maximum number of people, but it is looking that they are getting that big delivery today, and this as we understand was expected already in the month of March at least, and today they are getting this particular delivery.
Right. Thank you, Reena, so much for the information about Interglobe Aviation as well as Container Corporation of India. Mayuresh, any view on Interglobe Aviation? Market has been awaiting their capacity addition because they are operating at 90% plus PLF, 90% plus load factors.
Well, yes, and that's been the case with SpiceJet as well, with their passenger load factors in excess of 90%. Now, clearly, with cut in ATF prices, that is going to affect their EBITDA margins for a lot of these aviation companies. And the kind of model Interglobe Aviation runs, it's going to support their business dynamics going forward. So again, I think the markets were largely disappointed with the delay in deliveries for the A3 and 320neos, which are even more fuel efficient in terms of the normal Airbus operations that it currently manages. So yes, I think if these deliveries happen as per schedule from March, as Hina was breaking out, I think it will be taken positively by the markets, and I think it's one of the few profitable airlines which has consistently been making money. And I think the kind of debt that it has, rather the kind of leverage position it has, I think it's in a much better position compared to a Spice and a Jet. So yes, I think with the blip that we saw with Q3 numbers bunching together and the issues of corporate governance raised thereof, I think if these deliveries come through in a timely schedule henceforth, I think it will be taken very, very positively by the street.
Right. Mayuresh, just stay on with us. We're taking a break. Coming back in 2 minutes, I want to discuss some more stocks on the other side. 7485 as far as markets are concerned, down 46, so no major recovery coming in into the market going into the last half an hour. 5 minutes remaining for close. Vishal B. Malkan at Trading Coach is also now joining us. We were talking to Mayuresh, he's still with us. Vishal, just a quick reaction on the markets. Last 2 days we have seen selling pressure, but then we are not exactly closing at the day's low. It should be taken in positively?
Yeah, definitely it should be taken as positively, because we had a strong rally from 6900, almost like a perpendicular rally. So we need to consolidate a bit between this 74 and 75 for a few days, maybe before taking on to the next level of 7700.
Right, and will this, taking out this important level will be needed to be, supported by some sort of event? So we have the ECB today, we have the Fed meet next week, a big global rally in commodities, something like that is needed for that, that level to be taken on quite quickly?
Maybe an event would help to get it passed with a gap, or maybe with a sharp increase in volume. So definitely, and with so many events lined up, I think that would be a good trigger to get past this level. Definitely we are out of the woods based on what we saw in the last week, and any dip is also to be taken as a buying opportunity.
Right, and what should be the targets when we substantially close above the 7550?
Then we straight away look at 7750 to 7800 as the next target. Maybe if it goes, it is followed by an event, then definitely we can hit it in this expiry itself.
Right, Mayuresh, what is your view on Crompton?
No, clearly, with the sale that has happened on the power transmission and the system business, they're curtailing the losses that they were incurring year after year. So 250 and another 200 crores on the system business, almost 450 crores of losses is what they'll get out of their books. With the kind of infusion that one really expects to come through, the company will become debt-free. So there's no servicing of interest payments from FY17. And the consumer business is doing exceptionally well for Crompton Greaves. It was a power transmission business which was probably being a laggard for the company. So clearly you will expect an EPS upgrade happening specifically on its non-consumer business, whatever's left of it. And clearly in terms of earnings upgrades, though the top line might degrow because of the non-contribution of the power business from FY17, you will see a huge spike up happening in profitability. So I think investors holding on to the stock should continue holding on to Crompton Greaves.
Right, Mayuresh, just stay on with us. Vishal, stay on with us. We're just going to the closing, about close to about 90 seconds remaining as far as closing is concerned. It's a decent day, 46 odd points in terms of decline, and it's looking okay, just in and around the 7,500. That's essentially what we are looking at in terms of levels. Infosys down 3%, but it was backed by a big block deal that happened today. Coal India down about 0.16, Tata Steel up about 0.4, BHEL down 2.8, 104, 105, Kane India up about 3%, 141 level. It was strong right from the word go since morning. Tata Motors up about 0.13, Axis Bank down about 1%, PNB down close to 1%, HDFC Limited was one of the key reasons why market recovered, so it's up about 2.5%. Reliance Industries 2.5% decline, Idea down about 1.5, Kotak Bank down about 0.5%, NTPC up about 0.6, 127, 128 for NTPC. Tech Mahindra a 0.25% higher, Tata Power up about 0.3, HCL Tech up close to about 0.07, actually absolutely flat for HCL Technologies. L&T down 2.5%, 1,183, Bharti up about 1.1, Adani Ports up about 0.3, Wipro down about 0.37, 536. HUL a 0.25% decline, IndusInd Bank down about 0.7, Maruti up about 1%, 1.5 actually to be precise. GAIL down about 2.5%, 340, TCS down about 0.5, Asian Paints 2% higher, Z Entertainment down about 1% or so. Lupin down a 0.25%, M&M down about 1%, HDFC Limited down about 0.35, Hero MotoCorp down about 0.5%. Dr. Reddy's 1.5% decline, ACC down about 1%, Bajaj Auto up about 0.2%. Kane India 3% higher, 3.5 rather was among the top gainers. Hindalco was the second top gainer, 2.9% higher, 83.5 for Hindalco. HDFC Limited up about 2.5, 1,157 for HDFC Limited. Asian Paints 2% higher, close to 900 now, going back to almost the all-time high. Maruti up about 1.3, 3,625, 1 million shares traded for Maruti Limited. Bharti Airtel 1.5% higher, 338. Cipla up about 1%, 534 for Cipla. NTPC 0.5% higher, 127, 128 for NTPC, 3 million shares traded. Sun Pharma up about 0.3%, 864, 2 million shares traded for Sun Pharma. Adani Ports up about almost about 0.3%, 226, 227 for Adani Ports, 1.5 million shares traded for Adani Ports. Let's look at some of the losers as well. I think BHEL, okay, Reliance was the top loser, and maybe that's the reason why markets did not particularly recover a lot in the second half, because when we started the show, BHEL was the top loser. Reliance next, BHEL coming in the second top loser. Infosys again a heavyweight, 3% sort of a decline. GAIL down about 2.5%, 340 odd for GAIL Limited. We were talking to Mayuresh as well as Vishal Malkan. Both of them are still with us. Vishal, any view as far as Reliance Industries is concerned? It's looking in good.
I think Reliance has been a kind of a non-trading stock for so many months now, and it's been in that range since so long. So I would definitely not pick up Reliance as my trading bet, but better than that, we would look at Reliance Capital or Reliance Infra, which gives you good swings up and down. Both can be traded from long as well as short. Especially Reliance Infra is one stock which I'm looking at to buy on dips around 470 to 475 would be a good dip to buy.
Right. At what level would you be looking to buy, you said?
$470 to $475, Reliance Infra would be a good pick to buy.
And what would be your target? Can it go back to the levels of 600? 600 is where it turned back from, right?
Yes, we can look at targets of around 550 to 575, go and retest those levels of 600 also, maybe in couple of expiries.
Right. What would you look at some of the other ADAG names? Reliance Capital, Reliance Communication, anything of that also looking good? But the main interest seems to be in Reliance Infra and Reliance Capital.
Yes, main interest would be Reliance Capital and Reliance Infra, both of them almost move in the same direction, but I would say Reliance Infra would have an edge over Reliance Capital. I would not look at our communication or anything else in that sector as of now.
Right. Mayuresh, on the fundamental side, Reliance Infra is one of the cheaply valued infrastructure company.
Yes, it is. But again, I think what we really like within the infrastructure space, and it's a large space, to be very honest. So within the construction space, L&T is something that we will still prefer within the large cap names. Within the infrastructure theme as a whole, roads and highways, EPC players is something that we're still very sanguine about. And our own take is with the kind of allocation of 57,900 odd crores that the finance minister has done, it's going to abet the industry in a big fashion over the next 2 to 3 years. So the EPC players like PNC Infrastructure, KNR Construction, Sadbhav Engineering is something we are probably liking at this point of time.
Right. What's your view on Just Dial, Mayuresh? You think that once the buyback is behind, it will again go and test its previous lows, or the interest essentially would decline?
So it is possible because it's in a lock-in period till the 18th and then it'll open up on the 21st. Now what essentially is happening is the kind of slowdown that we've seen in a couple of its launches, whether it's the Omni JD or whether it's the Search Plus app, the kind of expenses on a recurring basis that will go through in servicing the kind of requirements that one really needs to fulfill in terms of revenue projections is going to take some amount of time. So the cash flow from operations from the new apps is going to take a while. There are operating expenses in terms of field sales going up, and clearly the margins might get impacted over the next couple of quarters. So clearly at this point of time, largely maintaining a neutral view. And again, I think investors have to be very, very careful, because once the buyback date is probably over on the 18th, when the stock opens up on 21st, you might be having a different reaction onto the stock altogether.
Right. Vishal, what will be your view on Just Dial?
I would say still not out of the woods. Maybe a rally of around another 4-5% should be taken as exit rally, and we can exit your longs out of that and look at some better momentum stocks to go long for.
Right, but can you short this name?
I would like to go with stocks. Couple of stocks which I'm on on my radar would be, one is the one stock which has not moved up much in the last couple of months is Ambuja Cement, which is showing good signs in the last couple of trading sessions, or trading above that 200 level. So I think we can see the level of around 215 to 220 very sharply in the next few trading sessions. Then I'm also looking at Adani Ports, which is looking very good on the charts on daily as well as weekly, where I can see a target of around 245 to 250 in a couple of 3-4 trading sessions. And also I look at Crompton for another 10% rise from here.
Right, but Crompton, you know that if it has to go up 10%, it has to go up in the next 2 days.
Yeah, that's there on the chart. So I think next couple of days we should see some good movement on that counter.
No, what I'm saying is that on next Tuesday, we have the adjustment of Crompton coming in. So after that, the price would be materially different. And even the FNO would expire.
I understand. That's what. And typically on this kind of events, when something like this is happening, we see some sharp volatility in the stock, and we can expect good movement. At least 5 to 6% is not ruled out in the next couple of trading sessions.
Right. Vishal, what will be your view on Kane India? It's slowly and steadily moving up back to the levels of 140. Is it showing some momentum on the charts?
I think there is some more room left on this stock. Around 148, 150 would be a level where it can face some resistance, but definitely not a great trading stock, or maybe right now not the right time to get into even on a medium term investment level. So I would definitely avoid this stock for the time being and look at other counters which I mentioned.
Right. Mayuresh, what will be your view on Kane India at 141? Would you be skeptical to buy from here on?
No, again, Pankaj, largely wait and watch, because what happens in terms of the key overhangs, what happens with production sharing contracts, what happens with his output, what happens with the tax liability. I think all these factors are going to play headwinds in terms of how the stock movement might be. Secondly, I think the correlation with crude, and you've seen a nice rebound happening on crude prices, which is probably getting reflective in the way the stock is moving at this point of time. Yes, it is cash position and the cash and cash equivalents on its balance sheet is supporting the price at this point of time. But again, I think the core business is going through a very cyclical adjustment globally at this point of time. And even domestically, I think these issues persist as has been for the stock. So fundamentally, at least, I think I'll be staying away from this stock at this point of time in terms of fresh buying. And again, I think once we receive clarity on all these issues over the next few months or quarters, I think you'll get the confidence probably to see and assume that crude has probably stabilized, the bottom has formed, and a lot of the other concerns related to the tax liabilities and the production sharing liabilities in terms of how the contractual applications will pan out will probably get ironed out. So again, I think wait and watch at this point of time, at least for Kane India.
Right. Mayuresh, what's your view on Yes Bank? It's being one of the strong banks among the banking space. Do you think that it can go higher from here on? And they have delivered in Q3 versus some of the other private sector names.
Oh yes, again, I think the numbers were exceptionally good at the quarter gone by, and if one really assumes the kind of capital adequacy that the bank is maintaining at this point of time, the accretion that is happening on the CASA front, all positive developments happening, and that would support earnings growth in excess of 20-21% over the next couple of years. Secondly, the asset quality has held up much better than the larger private sector peers. So I think Yes Bank is attractively placed at this point of time, both in terms of how the earnings outlook for the bank looks like, and if there is a credit growth cycle which resumes over the next few months, I think it will be a key beneficiary along with other larger private sector banks. So we've maintained a positive outlook, and again, I think we might be holding this stock on behalf of our PMS clients.
Right. Vishal, what is your view on Yes Bank? Is it looking stronger versus some of the other banking names?
Yes, definitely I agree with Mayuresh on that, and I think Yes Bank is one of the stronger banks in terms of charts, also on daily as well as weekly charts. So if I have to buy any banking stock, then first would be Yes Bank and second would be Bank of Baroda.
Right. Vishal, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Mayuresh, always a pleasure talking to you. As far as markets are concerned, we have the adjusted close. Not that great day for the market. We are closing into the red after quite a while, 7-8 days. We've seen a very good rally, and today a 45-46 point decline. But as we spoke to Vishal, some of the other technical analysts, it's largely consolidation, and this consolidation is needed for 7,500 to be taken out, and that's precisely the sense that the street is guessing. And of course, we have the ECB event that would happen today. It could be a binary event. It could go anyways. Expectations are high, so chances of a disappointment is something which the street is not ruling out. So one has to wait and watch for that. But that is something which we'll only come to know tomorrow morning. We're taking a break. Coming back in 2, we'll be talking to Pawan Munjal.